Good morning. Everybody can hear me? No problem? Volume is okay? All right. Good morning. I'm going to be doing a presentation on making a disclosure of wrongdoing. Cette présentation va être en anglais, mais si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez les poser en français. Put yourself in a situation. You identify wrongdoing within your organization. Somebody's doing something wrong with funding, somebody's hired somebody or accepted a contract because they know somebody in that company. What do you do with this information? Individuals are confronted with difficult choices. It's an ethical decision. What do I do? Do I cross the line and say, I'm going to report it? It has to get to that point. Sometimes they'll just sit back and wait. They'll say, somebody will notice it, somebody will pick this issue up, but you have to get to that point where you say, I can't sit by anymore. I have to take a step forward and make a complaint and address this issue. So the question I have for you is, do you know the options that are available to you? You have obviously a number of different choices. As a member of the department, as a DND employee, or a CAF member, you can approach your supervisor or manager and report it. Hey boss, I don't think we should be spending money on this type of thing. It's not really covered. I don't think it's covered under the budget or for this fund. You can make write up a formal complaint to your chain of command. Now, these are all acceptable processes, and it's probably the best way to go first. The simplest way to resolve a problem, it's dealt with immediately by your chain of command, and in most cases it works. Let's say you get to the point where you have a belief that, based on history or in other examples, where individuals who have come forward have suffered some type of reprisal. Either their peers look at them differently, their supervisor says, oh yeah, he's the guy that's always complaining, and you don't want to get there. There is the option of, There is the option of contact the Internal Disclosure Office. Again, the Internal Disclosure Office works within the Directorate of Special Examinations and Inquiries within ADM Review Services. If you want to make a formal disclosure, we are the preferred option because we are mandated under the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act and the Canadian Armed Forces Disclosure Process to protect your identity as much as possible, and to protect the information that's coming forward. Obviously, if you have a situation where there's one witness to a problem and the problem is reported, well, the individual who did the mistake is going to know where this complaint came from. So sometimes it's impossible to protect the identity. But the internal disclosure is also mandated to protect individuals against any form of reprisal. Now, it's not prevent reprisal, it's to protect individuals from reprisal. Being the nature of reprisal, it's not reprisal until it happens to you. You are told by your boss, yeah, you're going to be going on that course down to Hawaii in about 3 months. It's a good course, you deserve it, everything's fine. Then you put in a complaint, and then about a week later, your boss comes up to you and says, sorry, somebody else is going to be going on the course instead. I need you here for something else. That's considered reprisal. Any action taken against you, whether it's valid or not, could be deemed reprisal if you have made a complaint, and we will investigate that. Third option for public servants only is to go outside the department to the Public Sector Integrity Commissioner. They will investigate For all departments, any allegations of wrongdoing. For CAF members, that option is not available because it's the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act, and under the Act itself, military members, CAF members, are not identified as public servants. Oh, one little thing about there are, before I get into this next line, there are, I guess, unique circumstances where it is permissible or advisable to go outside the department and outside the Public Sector Integrity Commissioner. In the event, let's say you work in a test facility and you believe that the testing of body armor has been compromised. Know that the contract has gone through and the chain of command is aware of it and nothing's been done, and you believe that soldiers' lives are at risk. And you've done everything you can to try to address this issue. You can, and again, it's extreme cases, go to the media. Other than cases where there's lives at risk or there's serious issues that need to be addressed immediately, it is more appropriate to deal with things within the department through your normal chain of command, through the grievance process, the harassment process, and then progress up through the options to the Internal Disclosure Office, and if necessary, the Public Sector Integrity Commissioner. Must be, yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, there's two pieces of basically, one's a law and the other is a process. April 2017, Treasury Board came out with the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act. People go, not familiar with that term. If I said to you, whistleblower legislation, would that help? What it is, provides protection to individuals to come forward and make complaints within federal departments. Part of the Act states that any organization within the federal government that is not covered under the Act must create their own similar process to protect those individuals. Therefore, April 2013, the Deputy Minister and the Chief of Defence Staff signed off on the Canadian Forces disclosure process. In essence, it provides the same protections to military members as the Act, the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act, provides to public servants. Okay. So basically, the Internal Disclosure Office's mandate is to basically implement the two processes. To receive complaints, investigate, and report the findings to the chain of command or the supervisors. We're also required to provide protection to individuals who come forward, witnesses, all witnesses, are part of the investigation, and the respondent themselves. We have a responsibility to protect the reputation of the person that the allegation has been brought up against. Until the facts have been determined, their reputation must be protected. And we provide a fair and objective process to basically conduct the investigations. Through our organization, up to ADM review services. If there are things that need to be addressed, ADM review services can go directly to his immediate boss, which is the deputy minister. And if something that needs to happen, for example, let's say an individual is suffering reprisal. They have been segregated from their workplace while a grievance process is ongoing, and they're being ridiculed or whatever. If necessary, if it requires that level, normally it's possibly resolved at the director level, possibly at the ADM level, but if it's something more serious, the ADM will contact the deputy minister and say there's reprisal going on in this organization, fix it. The deputy minister will send that information down to the appropriate, through the appropriate chain to resolve it. The Internal Disclosure Office also is an opportunity for individuals to come forward and ask questions. Ask questions about the Act, ask questions about the CAF disclosure process. What do I do? This is the situation I'm in. What are my options? Should I go grievance? Does this fall under a wrongdoing that's accepted under the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act? Ask us a question. We'll give you our advice and guidance. We'll even help you prepare your formal submission for an internal disclosure. Please, if you have a question, give us a call. That's what we're here for. Excuse me. What constitutes wrongdoing? This is the definition. These are the definitions of wrongdoing under the Act. Contravention of any act of Parliament or of the legislature of a province or any other regulation made under any such act. Take, for example, the Financial Administration Act. Someone who does not have delegated authority to sign off a certain amount signs off on a contract. They have breached the FAA, which is an act, falls under that line, the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act definition of wrongdoing. Misuse of public funds. Again, purchasing things in your organization that perhaps you shouldn't be purchasing. It's not for unit, it's more, let's say, for a party or for a reception or whatever. Inappropriate use of funds. Gross mismanagement. That could be, I wrote an example. Choosing a company in a contract that you know somebody who works in it. That's gross mismanagement. An act or omission that creates substantial or specific danger to the life, health, and safety of Canadians or the environment. I'll use that example I used before about you know that the testing of body armor has been flawed somehow. That is wrongdoing because it has impact on the lives and safety of individuals. A serious breach of a code of conduct. This one's kind of like, it's a category that'll catch a lot of the others, again, because of a potential conflict of interest. You are hiring somebody or you're picking a company in a contract because you know somebody in that company. That's a conflict of interest as well. And knowingly directing or counseling a person to commit a wrongdoing. Take the example of, okay, we're, let's say 1st of February, end of the fiscal year is coming up. Been trying to get this piece of equipment or these items. The total cost of this package exceeds my authority. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up into 2 requests. I'm going to basically do what's inappropriate. It's called contract splitting. And someone in your chain of command says, I can't do this. This is wrong. Say, look, it's the end of fiscal year. We're going to lose the money anyway. Just sign it off, and if there's any problem, I'll take care of it. But sign it off. That is directing an individual to commit a wrong. Our authority comes under, to investigate wrongdoing, comes under DAOD 7026-1. Conduct administrative investigations in response to allegations, reports of disclosure, of misconduct, impropriety, mismanagement, and other wrongdoing within the department. Two of the issues within the DAOD, number one is that COs and managers must provide complete access to information and personnel that are required in the purpose of an investigation. So if a DSCI investigator comes into your organization conducting an administrative investigation under wrongdoing disclosure, the CO and the manager must provide all documentation and access to the members. The other component is that individuals within the department must cooperate with DSCI investigators. We all have a responsibility in the department, whether you're CF or DND employees, to identify and report wrongdoing. By standing by and letting it go by, you are condoning it. So there is an onus, a responsibility on all of us. Report wrongdoing and to assist in the resolution of wrongdoing. Confidentiality. We must, to the extent practicable, protect the identity of persons involved in the disclosure process and establish procedures to ensure the confidentiality of information created for conducting an investigation. We are mandated by law under the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act to protect that information. The CF disclosure process is not a law, but it is an equivalent process within the forces. So we are also mandated to protect the information for a CF member who comes forward. Information that we receive is not releasable under the Access to Information or Privacy Act. It would be ridiculous to take a disclosure and tell an individual, we're going to protect you from reprisal, and we'll protect the information, we're going to protect the witnesses, we're going to protect the reputation of the individual the allegation has been brought up against, when somebody who works for the Ottawa Citizen, the whatever newspaper, can put in a quick access to information submission and get access to everything. It makes no sense. So once the Act came into law, the two processes, the Access to Information and Privacy Act, were changed, were modified to say that in the event that an investigation into a disclosure has been initiated, all information that has been gathered, used to make a disclosure, or used as part of the investigation cannot be released. Subject of an allegation. Obviously, we do not do this. We don't go into an organization and say, okay, we're going to interview you. Come over here in front of your peers. That. Even witnesses and disclosures, we do it at our site. Because again, protecting the identity of the individual. The individual with whom the allegation has been brought up against has rights. They have a right to be informed of the allegation. They need to know what the allegation is that's against them. They need to have the opportunity to respond to it through an interview process, not just say, I didn't do it. Sit down, show me the proof, give me witnesses, help me understand that you didn't do this. Give me the information I need to prove you didn't do this, or mitigate the circumstances, whatever. They have the right to respond to the allegation. They have the right to be informed of the results. We have concluded our investigation, have determined that the allegations brought up against you are deemed founded or unfounded. If they're founded, there may be action taken, not do that. We provide the facts to the chain of command. It is the chain of command's decision to determine if action is taken after. For example, an individual who is a constant in the military, let's say he's constantly AWOL, and for some reason, creates something, but let's say for some reason we do an investigation and we say, yes, he was AWOL, here's the information commander. So we have no idea if this is the first time this has happened to this individual or if this guy's been AWOL 26 times over the past 8 months. We have no idea. We do not make recommendations on discipline. The only type of recommendations we will make are to believe this policy needs to be reviewed. Perhaps this issue needs to be specifically addressed in the policy because it's not clear. We will try to identify areas, administrative errors that perhaps could be addressed, or concerns in a general area. We do not look at the issue of discipline. The last thing is they have a right to expect that the investigation is conducted in a fair and impartial manner. And that is why our investigative team is separated from everything else and under ADM Review Services, who answers directly to the Deputy Minister. So there's no way that a commander of the Army, Navy, Air Force, any CO can come across to our director and say, no, hey, he's a great guy, he's got a good career coming, he's doing really well, he's going to be a general one of these days, this is really not going to help his career. There's no way to influence. They'd have to influence ADM Review Services, who answers directly to the Deputy Minister. So that's why we are separated. Reprisal. Under the Act and the CF disclosure process, reprisal is any measure taken against a person who has made a protected disclosure or who has participated in an investigation. Got a few examples here of what is considered reprisal. A disciplinary action, the demotion of a public servant, or for a military member, the demotion of the person. A career remedial or other administrative action, that's for CAF members. The termination of employment, the release, recommendation for release or termination of a CAF member. Any measure, and this is the one that we use most, any measure that adversely affects the employment or working conditions of the public servant or the CAF member. Something as simple as you move your desk, you're not sitting by the director anymore, you're going to be sitting right at the end down there by the exit sign. That could be deemed as reprisal. Why are you moving that person? What's the justification? A good one, because if not, it's deemed reprisal. The issue of reprisal for managers and supervisors is very critical. When you look at an individual who has committed a wrongdoing, or is a problem, let's say a problem child, someone who constantly complains. Once they've made that complaint, you have to be very careful as a manager on any action you take against them. Because they can turn around and say, I'm being reprised against. I made a complaint 8 months ago, they've been waiting for an opportunity, and now I'm being punished. If you're going to take action against an individual, document it. Make sure it stands up to the light of day that, yeah, they can claim it's reprisal, but no, I've done an initial counseling, I've done a recorded warning, I've had the individual in for a number of discussions, written complaints, whatever, I've documented it. This is just the next step in the process of doing my job as a manager. That's what you got to do. Do your job by protecting yourself. Do the paperwork. Make sure the steps that you're taking are appropriate and in the right order, that you're not jumping steps, that you're going from an initial counseling to trying to basically have the individual kicked out of the public service or whatever. Process step by step and protect yourself, because as more people are become aware of this process, they will turn around and say, I'm being reprised against. Okay, in essence, that's the presentation. That's a snapshot of the Internal Disclosure Office. Individuals can come forward, make a protected disclosure of wrongdoing. We protect that information. We conduct an administrative independent investigation. Basically provide our results through our director up to the ADM. Decide where the results of that investigation goes. Only 3 people can authorize an investigation into an internal disclosure. Yes, the Deputy Minister, and Review Services. We must receive a formal written tasking order from ADMRS to launch an investigation. We will initiate, we will do preliminary assessments, we will look at files, we will check databases, we will look at records, but we do not interview anybody because we don't want to risk ruining or jeopardizing the reputation of individuals. Not start a formal investigation, we do research. Once we have a tasking, then we'll start. So in essence, that's, again, like I said, that's the presentation. Do any of you have any questions?